Blazer fans, welcome back to the Blazer Victory Podcast. And as always, this is your co host, John Duncan, and I'm joined as always by my co host, Steve Irvine. And guys, what a dominating effort, especially on the defensive side of the ball for our UAB Blazers down there in Montgomery, Alabama, as UAB shuts out Jacksonville State 31-0. Steve, how about our Blazers?
Oh man, it was a good night. I thought I thought really in all phases that they made plays in all phases and played well in all phases. It could have been they left some plays out there. There's no doubt about that. It could have been more, but overall I think anytime you beat a good team, and that was a good team, and you beat a good team handily. I think you got to be happy, and you certainly got to be happy and impressed with that defensive play. I mean, it was
Definitely.
incredible, because they made a pretty good quarterback, look not very good, and I think he's going to show the rest of the year. He showed in the past, and he's going to show the rest of the year he's a pretty good quarterback, and just
Oh, yeah.
really made him look ordinary.
Definitely. And, a lot of that, definitely goes out to the secondary, Mac McWilliams. For those that didn't get to hear the post game, with you and David Crane, I believe you gave him the defensive MVP for the game. Is that
I
right?
did. Yeah, I did. I thought he was sensational. I thought he really, they picked him out as a target. They
Oh,
they
yeah.
they went at him and he definitely answered that, and they had him with three pass breakups. I thought he had four. I think one of them they called a drop where I thought he got his hand in and knocked the ball out, but that's okay. But I just thought overall he was I just thought he was really good. When you win a starting job in that secondary, by your play in fall camp, then you're a pretty good defensive back because he just beat
Right.
guys out in the fall camp, and really just I thought he was sensational. I mean, I thought he was like I said, you said, yeah, I certainly picked him as the MVP just because I thought he made plays in all areas, and that was really good to see.
Definitely, definitely, and just an all-around, almost perfect effort from the defense. As we mentioned earlier, getting the shutout, and that's the first time UAB's gotten a shutout since the 2018 game against UTEP, where we beat the Miners down in El Paso 19-0. But I believe I saw a stat where this was the first time that Jacksonville State has been shut out since like 2012, I believe. So, and Jacksonville State, they played some pretty good teams over the years. So, I mean,
Yeah,
this is.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and they like to. I mean, they score. I mean, they're a team that scores. For a long time now, and I thought the one thing I thought was really impressed with the defensively was, well, two things. One is I thought they tackled sensational. I mean, I don't remember many
Yes.
missed tackles, and I thought that was key. And the other thing was I thought they really did a great job of playing their assignment. I mean, I think of
Yes.
the little reverse or it was either reverse or a jet sweep or a pop pass. I don't remember what exactly happened early in the game where Keandre Swoops made the play, just basically just playing his role, just stepping inside of the blockers and setting that edge, and the ball carrier ran right into him, and it was just it was a spectacular play by doing what you're supposed to do,
Yes.
and that's what to me that's what makes good defenses, and I love. And I think this will be all year, but I love the fact that you have a shutout, and you dominate, and you look at your leading tackler has six tackles. This isn't that's tremendous. Because you got a
Right.
bunch of guys making plays. You don't have a guy with 18 tackles or something like a lot of these places do. And I just think that
Hmm.
just the job of just doing your job last night defensively was what trusting what they ask you to do, and then going out and doing it. And I thought that honestly, they didn't get a sack, and only had three tackles for loss, which I think they need to improve on, especially the tackles for loss a little bit. But I thought that even though they didn't get a sack, I thought they impacted the game because of I felt like Jacksonville State was really kind of going away from some of the stuff they like to do, throwing the ball downfield a little bit, because I don't think they felt like they could. And so everything was quick. They tried to do, play, everything, almost everything was quick. And I think that was a tribute to that to that front, the defensive front, knowing that, hey, if we try to go downfield, we can't do it. And, so, a lot of times you look at something and you go, well, they didn't get any sacks and, didn't get pressure, but I think, you impact the game in a different way, and there were some pressures. Like Kelly Sanders had a real nice win in the fourth quarter, and you got to hurry out of it. But, I thought they impacted the game just by who they are.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, when you watch that game, I mean, we pretty much dominated both sides of the ball on the line of scrimmage. I mean, there's no doubt. Watching that game that we saw, we didn't get any sacks, but I mean, I tell you what, Cooper, quarterback for Jacksonville State, I mean, he was brushing throws. I mean, and also, going back to the coverage, I mean, we pretty much stayed in man all night long, and their wide receivers couldn't do anything. I mean, we were just dominant, not only up front on the line of scrimmage, but also in the secondary. I felt linebackers played really well. I thought Chris Moll played really well. He was very active as usual. And some other guys stepped up too. I mean, I just felt it was an all around, great or almost perfect, effort by the defensive, by the UAB defense. And I believe going into halftime, I think Jacksonville State, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they only had 2 or 3 first downs in the whole first half. And I mean, I know they ended up with just 9, but I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, and I think they only crossed midfield twice. I think it was what it was, and I think one of them might have been on a penalty. And
it was, yeah.
Yeah, and and I think a lot of that, I go back to the assignment. I mean, a lot of that is just not not busting assignments. I can't think of a time last night where they had a busted assignment. I think that speaks to a lot of things. That speaks to trusting your coaches and trusting your plan, but it also speaks to just having so many guys that they're stepping up and playing. And so many. You don't have a lot of, they're fresh all the way through. Okay. And you don't have a lot of fatigue mistakes, and you have guys playing different positions. I mean, I look out there one time and they had two guys up front. They had Dijon Turner and Chris Moll were playing the linebacker spots, and the rest of the guys were secondary guys. So you end up having basically, if you count Mullen and Dijon Turner, you basically had 9 DBs in there. It's like a 2-9 type thing,
right?
So, and that was just one quick look. I mean, I thought that was another great thing. They just had so many different guys and so many different looks. I thought Kyle Harrell came in and played really well.
He did, yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of, so many of these guys are sort of unheralded, and I'm telling you what. Keandre Swoops is going to be a star. I mean, well, not a star. He is a star. Well, he plays a star, but I mean, he is, man. He just makes plays. He had a play in the fourth, right at the end of the game where Cooper was trying to get out of bounds, and I think he ended up getting out of bounds. But what Swoops was in the middle of the field, and he ran past people to get to him, and ran past some fast people to get to him. So I thought he was really, really good, and again, if he's starting at that position, he had a great camp because he's starting over some really good guys. So, I mean, it just all the way through, there were just so many guys that Isaiah Forte, I thought really played well. And Kevin Penn came in, and I mean, you can just kind of go down the list of, defensively, and, the guys that played really, for the most part, really, really played well.
Definitely. And just, overall, UAB only gave up 154 yards of total offense. As I mentioned, only allowed 9 first downs to the Jacksonville State offense. Jacksonville State was 2 of 13 on third down, 0 of 1. That was a late fourth down they went for late in the game and didn't get. Only 88 passing yards and 66 rushing yards. So just a total dominating effort, on the defensive side of the ball for UAB. Now let's switch over to the offensive side of the ball. And Steve, how about Tyler Johnston? I mean, he was just back to his old self. You know, he looked great. You know, outside, I will say, you know, it wasn't perfect. I can think of just 2 throws that, you know, he definitely wants back. But I mean, on the deep balls, looked good. There were a couple dropped passes. You know, I think Ryan Davis dropped one and Garrett Prince dropped the other. But I mean, just it was clicking on all cylinders almost for Tyler Johnston.
Oh, he was tremendous, you know, and he was just so accurate. And, you know, really is probably his 2 best throws he had all night were the 2 that were dropped. You know,
Yeah.
those were true sensational. And hey, I mean, they weren't easy catches, either of them. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, they was just in their hand. You know, Ryan Davis had to lay out a little bit on it, and you just couldn't control it. And you know, Prince did a good job of getting to the ball that he dropped. And, you know, I mean, hey, you got to make the catch. It's a drop. And, you know, they're kicking themselves for it, but they weren't easy catches. But I thought both of them were incredibly thrown footballs. I mean, and he was just so good and so accurate. I mean, it wasn't until, you know, late in the game that he made his 2 bad throws, you know, and hey, both those throws were not good. You know, one of them could have been a pick six, and another one should have been an interception. But you know, other than that, he just was so accurate, you know, and just so smart. And, you know, he looked like he was a healthy quarterback last night.
Yes.
I mean, he just looked, you know, he made that one really nice run where he didn't get the first down, but he got him in a better situation.
Where shook off a couple defenders.
Yeah, to battle his way there. And, you know, just again made good decisions all night. And I tell you what, I thought Bryant Vincent did a great job of game planning and play calling. You know, because that's the one thing. As good as Tyler Johnston was last night, he was throwing to a lot of open receivers now. I mean, there was, you know, the ball, you know, the touchdown pass to Prince was, you know, he threw him open. So that was a really nice pass. And you know, for the most part, you know, he was throwing to open receivers. And, you know, it was good to see the receivers. I mean, I thought that, you know, obviously Rajay Johnson-Sanders had a really nice, you know, a couple really nice plays there. Ryan Davis was what we expected. You know, had that great catch in the second half that came back with a penalty because of a penalty. But, you know, he ended up with 3 catches. You know, that would have been 4. Shropshire, you know, that the one catch, the deep ball, not the touchdown
where
catch.
He went up and got it. Yes.
Yeah, the one that was on ESPN, you know, top 10 or whatever it was just, I mean, it just reminded you of that championship game, you know, Tyler. Yes. And even though he made a great catch out of it, that was a great pass. I mean, he put it where, you know, that's the one thing Tyler's great at is trusting his guys, you know, and putting in positions where they, you know, knowing they're going to have to go up and make a play now, but, you know, getting it away, making sure they're the only ones that are going to make the play. And, you know, I just thought I mean, everything offensively, it was, you know, I thought there were some timely penalties that were bothersome. And obviously the 2 fumbles, you know, by McBride.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that. But I thought Jermaine Brown was really impressive. You know, he runs so hard and, you know, just runs kind of angry, you know, and you know, I don't know that we've seen that from him. I mean, he you know, I said it several times last night on the broadcast. He's running so confident right now. And, you know, we saw a little bit of that when he was a freshman. You know, but, you know, not much was expected out of him. You know, he was just kind of in there, you know, he's just kind of playing. But he's running so confident right now, and you can tell he's stronger. And they did a great job. You know, they really put the emphasis on the cutbacks last night and finding hole, you know, stretching it and cutting back. And, you know, he did a great job of being patient in there and then getting to that hole quick, you know, once it opened up and, you know, picking the holes. I thought he did a great job. And I really thought that Dwayne McBride ran the ball well too. You just got to have ball security, but, you know, both those guys, you know, you could see the plan last night was the cut back, find a hole and you know, cutting back. And so I thought both those guys really did a good job of that. You know, tight ends were tremendous, you know, but I think it all started, again, I think it all started with game plan and play calling. I mean, I think that Brian Vincent did such a good job of the preparation and calling the game that it made it a lot easier for the offense to have success.
Definitely. And, you just hit on pretty much everything on the offense, but I do definitely want to give kudos to the big men up front for, giving time for Tyler to be able to get to that second and third read and go through those progressions to, a couple episodes ago, leading into fall camp, we talked about how one of the question marks was, can Tyler Johnston improve on his, intermediate passing? And he definitely showed big improvements against Jacksonville State, but I give definitely kudos to the offensive line to be able to give him time to make those reads, and also just, on going back to that one trick play they ran, and I believe that was the first play to start the second half. Mm-hmm. I mean, just giving him time to do that, but that does go back to definitely what you were just saying about how Vincent came in with a very good game plan. And honestly, Jacksonville State just had no answer all night. I mean, it was either, pick your poison, whether we're going to have, open wide receivers all night catching balls or Jermaine Brown Skull, running all down your throat. And, as you just mentioned too, Dwayne McBride, take away those two fumbles. He had a couple good runs. I mean, he ended up getting over 54 yards, but just an all-around great effort on the offensive side of the ball. But those two fumbles from Dwayne McBride were the kind of the ugly on the offensive side of the ball. But I went back this morning, Steve, and I rewatched the game. The first fumble I can kind of see because the Jacksonville State player hit him with his helmet and straight into the ball, and that's what popped it loose. But that second one, man, the guy from Jacksonville State just snatched it away from him. I mean, he's got to, work on that, and I'm sure he will. I'm not, talking terrible about McBride because we know what he could do. We saw it last year.
He's saying the same thing about himself right now. So, we're not saying
yes.
anything he's not telling himself. I mean, right. I guarantee you nobody is more disappointed with those fumbles, nobody than he is. He's a competitive guy, and he was mad at himself last night. He's mad at himself right now, and he's going to fix it. He's going to fix it. And I think that, you're right. The guy made it on the first one. The guy did a good job of getting his helmet on the football, but you still can't do that. I mean, you got to get he still had the ball a little loose in that situation.
He held it high.
Yeah. You got to get it tighter. So even though the guy made a great play, you can't, there's no excuse for that. You can't let that happen. Right. And you certainly can't let the second one happen. But again, nobody's more disappointed in him, and he's gonna do great things. And I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't fumble again. Just because I think that he's that kind of guy. And it puts a little damper, but it's those kind of things are good. I mean, as long as you learn from them, then they're good for, having failure or, having, making mistakes is not a bad thing, as long as we learn from it and it gets us better. And, so I mean, I think that's going to help him down the road. You hate it to happen. He hates it to happen, but I think it's going to help him down the road. I really do.
Definitely. And honestly, Steve, too, you take away those two turnovers. I mean, this game and, going back to those couple of drop passes, I mean, this game could have been real ugly. I mean, this could have been like a 49 or 50-0 game.
Yeah. I mean, I thought, especially with the defense, the way the defense was playing,
yes.
But, I just thought, and I thought there was a couple situations where, penalties stopped some things. Now they overcame it a couple of times, but
we need to talk about that.
Yeah, and I think that, I think Jacksonville State hurt themselves more than UAB did penalty wise, but still, it's that's something that you've got to find a way to clean up, because I thought, I thought there were some times, offensively, especially in the game, that it sort of slowed things down, and there was there's two or three big plays that were called back, because of whether it be a hold or there's a chop block on one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen a tape of that. I know Coach Clark was really upset on that one.
On the hold or the chop
No, the
block?
chop block when they called it
Oh,
on
okay.
Trey Hearn and Sidney Wells, and so I'd like to see I'd like to see a replay of that. I think just in my opinion, I think that's a call that's missed a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
I think
is.
that there's a lot of I like the rule. I have no problem with the rule, but I think a lot of times you think you see it and you don't, and it's not necessarily there. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't see the replay of that play, so it could have been a great call. I'm not saying it was or wasn't, but I think that I see it a lot of times where you think you see it and really it's not it's really not happening,
Right.
because it's a tough call in my opinion, because it's you call it when you're being engaged high and somebody comes low on you, and
Hmm.
I don't know that I mean, I've seen times where you're engaged high and somebody falls into you and they
Yeah.
call it, so again, it's a tough call and it happens so quick. And I don't know on that. I didn't see it. I know Coach Clark really, he reacted right away. So I think he had seen it, or I mean, the way he reacted, it wasn't that he just was mad because they called something. I mean, I think he saw it. He saw what happened and just didn't think it happened. But and eventually I hadn't had a chance to watch the replay today, but I'll see it, and hopefully there's a good view of it to see if they did it. But bottom line is they called it, and you just got to you can't put yourself in that position, and just got to get better at that. And again, I thought that Jacksonville State hurt themselves more, but you just can't you can't have drives in these games going forward. I mean, this
Yeah.
schedule is so hard that
Hmm.
those type of things, the fumbles and the and the penalties, and honestly the couple balls that Tyler threw that against other teams are going to be a pick. He's certainly not getting
Hmm.
away with that throw against Georgia, and
Mm-mm.
probably not Liberty, and some really good team. Louisiana Tech's always very opportunistic, and so things like that you've got to clean up in games, because it's just so it's a battle now the rest of the way out. I mean, every week is there's certainly no gimmies, so you got to clean that stuff up.
Definitely. I mean, next week we got Georgia, so we've got to, if we want any chance at all, any chance to somehow get out of Sanford Stadium with the W, we've got to clean some of that up. And honestly, too, Steve, I'll say too that I think especially a couple of the drop passes, that's just first game jitters. It's first game of the season. Hey, it happens. So if
Yeah, sure it
if
does.
I'll let them, hey, get it out of your system, against Jacksonville State, and from here on out, just hope that doesn't happen a lot. But I think it was just first game jitters.
Yeah, and I think so, because I mean, you look at like the drops, for example.
Hmm.
I mean, those are two sure-handed receivers. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
you don't see Garrett Prince drop a lot, and
no,
you certainly we hadn't had really that much of a chance to see Ryan Davis, but he's not going to drop a lot. And again, those weren't just crazy drops. I mean, just easy drops. I mean, those were tough catches that they're good enough to make, but those aren't guys that you see do that a lot. So I think a lot of that is first game, and you got it out of your system and let's go. And
exactly.
as much as you hate it, I think I think you look toward the positives of last night way before you look at the negatives. Now
Oh yeah.
as a coach, I mean, obviously there's a lot of teaching
Nah, I'm
moments
sure they'll fight.
that you
Yeah.
talk about, but the one thing I love that Coach Clark does, and he's big into talking about this, is this good, bad, and ugly, that they
Right.
do on the day after the game, or because it's so important to him that it's not just a beat down session, of picking out all the bad plays and yelling at everybody. It's you look at all of it. You look at the good and you learn from that. You look at the bad, you learn from that. You look at the ugly, and you learn from that. And so I think that he does a great job, and they do a great job as a staff of using those bad and ugly moments to teach, but not beating them down for those bad and ugly moments.
Definitely. Now, one other thing that I wanted to discuss with you, Steve, is that I liked that they brought Dillon Hopkins into some situations. You know, they brought him in early on in the ball game and ran some package with him. But also, how about that throw in the fourth quarter? That what was it, like a 40-yard touchdown pass to Trey Shropshire? Man, what a
Yeah.
dime!
Oh man, it was just perfectly thrown ball. I mean, yeah, he put it right there, and I thought the coverage was good.
It was
He just put it right there where only Shropshire could get it, and yeah, he was impressive, and I love that they got him in because he hadn't played in a year now, because
right.
he didn't play at all last year, and he looked last night like he looked in camp, that he and really he looked during the spring. I mean, he is just so improved that you just look at him and go, okay, well, if you don't want Tyler to go down, obviously, but he's going to be able to step in, and I do think that in probably all the games, but certainly most of the games, he's going to have a series or two. He's going to have a package or a role, that where he's going to come in and play some.
Right.
I think that's something that they're, I think that's something that they want to do, moving forward. Now, sometimes game situation will dictate that you don't, like if Tyler gets really, really hot in any game, you don't really want to take him out to, in a normal game.
No, yeah.
Obviously he was hot last night when they took him out, but I think that was just something they wanted to get him in the game, and the first time at least they wanted to get him in the game, and I like that. I mean, but he's going to play. He's got a role on this offense, and it's got to be an important role. It's not going to be a huge role, barring injury to Tyler, but it's going to be an important role.
Definitely. Well, let's just go over some of the box score stats. UAB had 19 first downs, 3 of 9 on third down efficiency. Total yards, 518 yards for the UAB offense, 371 passing, and 147 on the ground. 10 penalties for 77 yards and 2 turnovers. But Steve, I didn't see any injuries I really didn't see any other than late when I think it was Ragland. He came off late when Jermaine Brown scored that touchdown, at the 10-yard rushing touchdown. I think Ragland was like holding his shoulder or something, and he went under the tent, and he ended up coming out later. But I know they haven't said anything yet, but hopefully that. Hoping that he'll be okay. But that's the only, injury that I saw at the Crampton Bowl.
Yeah, I think that was the only one that happened during the game. I think there's a couple guys banged up that didn't play as much, or if they played, they didn't play as much. But yeah, and I think it was a shoulder. Coach mentioned in his post game that there was one player that had banged up his shoulder a little bit, but he thought he was going to be okay. I didn't mention him by name, but I assume he was talking about Colby Ragland. I'm not 100% sure, but
yeah.
But he stated after the game that he felt good, that they came out healthy, which is important, and we'll see moving forward with Ragland. I don't know, again, I don't know what happened to him on the play, but it's good. It was good to see him come back out of the tent and not having to go in to get X-rays or anything like that. So. We'll see again. We'll see moving forward. And I thought it was really interesting when he was out that they went with the Will Reichert at center and Andrew Smith moved over to left guard. Which is what they did in the championship game. Instead of sticking Jacoby Jones in there. And I think part of that is they really like, they really like the Reichert Andrew Smith lineup in that case. But I think the other thing is, Jacoby Jones is so important doing the handyman sort of work, like when you being the extra offensive lineman, can play tackle, can play guard if need be, so I think they want to keep him in that role where you don't have to stick him, at guard for every play. Now, if say a Colby Ragland or a Trey Hearn or whoever goes down for what looks like an extended period of time, then they might have to change that a little bit. Then they might have to bring him in and, put him there if that's what they want to do. I mean, but on the fly there, I thought that showed just how good how deep that offensive line is. That they didn't kind of panic there. They just plugged in another guy and moved a guy over, and they were fine.
Definitely. And before we close, we got to talk about special teams. How about Grayson Cash on blocking that punt? That was pretty. I wish he could have picked it up and ran. I mean, he tried to, but hey, it was still a hell of an effort by Grayson to block that punt and get on it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that shows too, and kind of shows on the kickoff coverage too. But it kind of shows that you're going to have to find a way. A lot of these guys on defense are going to have to find a way to contribute in a lot of different ways because they're so deep, and you're not going to get, as many, nobody's going to get as many defensive snaps as they did in the past, pretty much. And so, you got a lot of these guys running around on special teams, and, Grace is so fast and so athletic that, he's going to make plays like that. And that was a tremendous play. And really, if he doesn't block it, I think Nakia East has got a chance to block it. He was right there too. Yeah. And so, I thought it was a good call by Heath Thomas, and a good, a well set up, well coached and play, and they made a big play out of it, and then I was looking at when the opening kickoff, I kind of looking at the kickoff coverage team, and it was just full of guys. Dijon Turner was out there. I think Bowler was out there. I mean, you talk about just all these guys that were Swoops might have been out there. A lot of these, it wasn't one of those things where you take the 10 worst guys out there and put them on special teams. Yeah. And, these are big time players, and it's like that on every one of their coverage unit, or on both their coverage units. And the return units. And so just a lot of regulars out there. And, I just think that speaks to just how deep this team is.
Definitely. Well, good all-around effort from our Blazers against Jacksonville State. Again, getting the 31-0 shutout over the Gamecocks. And, if you go back and listen to our preview episode of the Jacksonville State game, Jacksonville State's going to be a really good team in the FCS. They were a top 10 ranked team, preseason ranked team in the FCS, and I expect them to do good things or keep doing good things under Coach John Gross for the Gamecocks. So really good win for UAB, and pretty much look good on all phases of the football. Guys, we'll be back next week to help get you ready for those Georgia Bulldogs. You can, if you want to do a little scouting, you can watch them play those Clemson Tigers. I think Clemson might be good. Aren't they pretty good at football?
No, I think they're more of a soccer team.
That's right.
A soccer school, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's gonna be an intriguing game. I think Georgia's already had, obviously they've had some injury issues, and so we'll see. We'll see. That'll be a great game. It'd be great if they can beat each other up and go 4 or 5 overtimes. And of course, overtime is a little different, this year. 4 or 5 is not going to be as taxing as it used to be. But
they changed the rules.
They got that going for the 2-point conversion. I think on the second possession or the third possession.
They need to just go NFL, man, and just do a kickoff and just say whoever scores first.
Nah, I like the college. I like
the college.
I like to put the ball at the 25-yard line. And I like it. I like the old system. And I've covered a couple long games. I covered one that was, I think, 5 overtimes, and there was another one that was maybe 4. And I loved it. I don't think that. I just thought I loved it. And I understand what they're trying. I understand you're trying to always, find it better. I just think that's a little, I don't like it. To me, it's too much like, penalty kicks or,
like soccer,
or like the penalty shots or whatever they do in hockey. And, I don't like that. It's like, deciding a basketball game when shooting free throws, I I don't get, I don't like it. But but I understand what they're doing. I mean, it's a safety thing. You're trying to make sure these guys aren't playing, you know, 200 snaps in a game, and so I like that. I mean, I like that they're trying to find a way to keep players safer. But I like the system. I like to put the ball at the 25. I just thought I thought it's pretty cool. They used to have way back when I was covering high school sports in Southern California, in the city of in LA City games, Los Angeles City games, they would put the ball. It was the most bizarre overtime I'd ever seen. They'd put the ball on the 50-yard line and give it to a team, and they had 4 downs to gain yards. Okay, so 4 downs. You can't punt, you can't kick a field goal, nothing like that. It's all about yards, and so you're trying to get as far as you can, and then the other team takes over where you stop. Okay, so if you say if you score, for example, say if you score in 2 plays, they've got 2 plays to go from the goal line back over the 50. And so
what in the world
it was the craziest thing you ever seen. So they start at the 50 and you get 4 plays, and say in your 4 plays you get down to the 15, say, and so the other team has got first down at the 15, and they've got to get back over the 50-yard line to win. And it was just this bizarre, and I saw several games that went to it, and I'm not sure I ever saw a team score. They all would just end up at the whatever yard line, and then others would try to get back over there. And I wouldn't really recommend to be. That was about the only overtime system where I went, this is kind of stupid. But but other than that, I think every other overtime. I mean, like I love the high school putting it at the 10-yard line. I think I think that for high school, I think that's great. But we'll see. Maybe the new system is going to be tremendous.
Maybe so.
Maybe we'll find that it is going to be a thing. And I agree with you to a point that it is a shame that in that system you take out the special teams. Other than the field goal. But I mean you take out the return game, and you're not playing the whole game of football.
Definitely.
But hey, they don't ask us what they're what they should do, and so we're just going to do what they we will watch and cover whatever system they throw out there.
That's right. Well, guys, if you aren't already, make sure that you're following us on Twitter at twitter.com/BlazerPod. Make sure you're helping us spread the word. Tell a couple Blazer fans about our podcast, and tell them that they can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean, wherever. Just help us spread the word, and make sure that you're subscribed to us on one of those platforms. But Stephen and I will be back with you next week to help get you ready for those Georgia Bulldogs. But on that note, guys, hey, we're 1-0, looking good, and just can't wait to see how we look next week against the Georgia Bulldogs. But on that note, guys, we'll see you next time. Go Blazers.